Alright, so today we're going to be taking guided notes on factoring day 3. This day is just to make sure that we really fine tune our factoring. Factoring is a big portion of the test, so I want to make sure that we understand how to factor. Okay? So today will just seem like a review for some of you guys. For others, it may be very, very helpful. Okay? So in front of you should have your guided notes. Do not worry about the area that I just boxed. We will talk about that when we get to class. Okay. All of this fill in the blank, we're actually not going to talk too much about it. The only thing I want to talk about is what means to factor. Okay. So when we're factoring, we're taking something out. Okay. We're taking either a number out that is in common, so taking something, take out something in common with one another. Okay, so you're going to take out either a number that's in common with something. Factor out just means you're taking something out that's in common. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to start with our ax squared plus our bx plus our c, and it always should equal 0 again. And like I said, we're working backwards to get an answer, x minus 1. This is just an example, x minus 1. Okay, we're trying to work backwards to get our parentheses. Now the reason we do this is because, again, it should always equal 0, is because these are our roots. Okay, so those are our roots. I'll explain later as to how we find our roots. Right now I really want to focus on how do we factor. Okay, so again, we're going to talk about the reverse box method, and then we're going to also, I'll do the banish one at the end as well. Okay, don't worry about this area right here. Okay, let's just jump into the problem. Okay, so the first problem, example 6 is 3x squared plus 2x minus 8. Alright, so again, this is the reverse box method. Okay, so step 1 in the reverse box method is to take your first and your last term and put them in opposite corners. So your first term is that 3x squared. So go ahead and put that 3x squared in one box. The last term is negative 8. Okay, and you're taking the whole thing, you're not just taking the numbers. So you'll put your 3x squared here and your negative 8 here. Alright, that's all you do with that first step. So step 1 is done. Put the first and last term in opposite corners. Step 2 is to find the factors of blank. So what that means is you're going to find the factors of these two numbers. Alright, so what that means is you're going to multiply your 3 times your negative 8. So 3 times your negative 8, you're always going to multiply the last two, the opposite corners of each other. So 3 times the negative 8, make sure that you write negative 8. So if I multiply those two, I get a negative 24x squared. Okay, so you're going to find the factors of negative 24x squared. And I usually like to separate them. Now, determine, so that's the second step, is just multiply the 3 times the negative 8, and we're going to determine what multiplies to negative 24. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to find the factor of the middle number, the 2x. But you're going to determine which factors add to 2. So you're going to also figure out what adds to 2x. I should write add, not 2x. You're going to figure out what adds to 2x. So what numbers multiply to negative 24x squared, but also add to 12, or also add to 2, sorry. So the first thing I like to do is I like to figure out what multiplies to 24. So 12 times a negative 2 gives you 24. But does 12 plus negative 2 give you 2? It does not give us 2. So 12 and 2 is not correct. Let's see, what else? What about 6 times 4? Well, 6 times 4 does give us the 24, but 6 plus 4 does not give us the 2. But I can make 6 and 4 give me a 2 somehow. That means one of my numbers needs to be negative. Now if this number is right here positive, that means my bigger number has to be positive. What do I mean by that? Well, the last number is 2. I'm trying to get 2. And my bigger number has to be positive, which means 6 minus 4. Does that give us 2? Yeah. What about 6 times negative 4? Does that give you negative 24? Yes, it does. Perfect. So I found the factors of negative 24, and I also found the factor that also added to 2. Now put the factors in the boxes. It does not matter which box you put it in. So if I put 6, and remember they have to have x's in the boxes, 6x and negative 4x here. Does not matter which one. Okay? Alright, so that was step 4. Put them in the boxes. Step 6, block off the bottom row and find blank, put on blank. So basically what that means is we're going to, for right now, I'm going to highlight this. We're not looking at that bottom row. So I like to put a finger down so that way I don't look at the bottom row. But we are just going to block off that bottom row and find what do 3 and 6. So again, what does 3x squared and 6x have in common? So find the GCF. And we're going to put that on the bottom. Sorry, we're going to put that on the side. So what does 3x squared and 6x have in common? Right off the bat, they both share an x. This one has an x and this one have an x. So they both have x. What else do they have in common? Well, 3 divided by 3 works, and 3 divided by 6, they both share a 3 as well. So they both share 3. Perfect. Now, what times what gives me, so step 7 is what times what gives me this. So basically what that means is 3x times blank gives you 3x squared. So what times 3x gives you 3x squared? So 3x times what gives you 3x squared? Well, that's x. 3x times x gives you 3x squared. So now 3x times blank gives you 6x. What times 3x gives you 6? Well, plus 2. 3 times 2 gives you 6. Drop down that x, 6x. Now let's look at our bottom row. Blank times x gives you negative 4x. Blank times x gives you negative 4x. So what times x gives me negative 4? Negative 4x. So negative 4 times x gives you negative 4x. Negative 4 times 2 gives you that negative 8. Perfect. We are done. So your answers, I'll highlight them, is this and this. So what would you put? You would put equals 3x minus 4 and x plus 2. There is your answer. All right. Perfect. Now that was the reverse box method. You can try some practice. Don't worry about these right now. We'll try those later. All right. Now, let's look at one more method. Remember, if I went too fast, you can pause it, you can slow it down, rewind it, go with that. Now let's look at this right here. Okay, we're going to use the X method here. Okay, they call it the grouping method. I like to call it the X method. Okay, basically what this is you take your 3 and you multiply it to the 8. We've already talked about this before. Okay, so first thing I would do is I would draw my X, and then I would go ahead and I would multiply my 3 times the 8. All right, and that number goes at the top, 24. So all I did was I took 3 times the 8 and put that 24 at the top. So I'm going to find the factors of 24 once again, and I'm going to also take this middle number and drop it down to the bottom, just like I've always done. So I'm going to determine which factors add to 10. So let's figure that out. What multiplies to 24 but also adds to 10? What multiplies to 24 but also adds to 10? Well, based off of what we just did right here, 12 and 2 can't give me 10. Even if I had a negative, that would be a different case. So 12 and 2 is not the case. What else? 6 and 4. 6 times 4 gives you 24. 6 plus 4, what does that give you? So 6 and 4. Perfect. Now, write it out in parentheses. So write out in parentheses. So they both share an x, so you have x plus 6, x plus 4. Okay? So now we grouped them with x terms and repeated terms. Okay? What that means is you just took your x here and you repeated it and put another x there. Okay? Now, we're going to bring back our a. So that means we're going to factor out. What is the a number? The a is 3. So we're going to factor out 3. And we're going to try and find the imposter. So 3 goes here and 3 goes here. Now, 6 divided by 3, does that work? Yeah, it works. So my new equation would be x minus, well, 6 divided by 3 is 2. Sorry, I don't know why I put minus to plus. 6 divided by 3 is 2. So x plus 2. Now, does 4 divide by 3? No, since 4 does not divide by 3, you move your 3 to the front, which is 3x plus 4. So this one right here is my imposter, which is why it disappears. It disappears now into my 2. Since this was not an imposter, I just move it to the front. And this right here is my answer. Alright, that is it. I showed you both ways. You determine which way is easier for you. I like both methods. Both methods are essentially the same. One is really well with visual learners. The other, it may be faster once you get the hang of it. I think at this point, both of them are the same time spent. If you have any questions, let me know. And yeah, thank you.